Ain't got no friends, ain't got no schooling, ain't got no sign, ain't got no blue. Hey man, what the hell? Ain't got no name, ain't got no culture, ain't got no money, ain't got no God. Okay. Buenas noches. There goes. Buenas nachos. No, don't bend it. Don't end it. Yeah. It didn't go that. It doesn't always go the best. Doesn't always sound that great. Maybe I have too much coffee. Maybe I do drink too much coffee. Is this all? Is this too much? To constantly drink coffee? Is that wrong? Okay. All right, let's go again. Let's talk about this Peter Joseph, this phony baloney. Now I'll do my mic. Believe me, eh? Will you believe me? This guy, I tell ya. See how I'm acting. Difference between normal, acting. Okay. Let's take a look now.
More of an expression of cynicism, because if you can't laugh and get angry rightfully and release what we experience, then you're just going to explode. So some people do it through comedy, and some people do it through other expressions. I say that because if anyone follows me on social media, you'll know I'm pretty much a prick to everybody, but I don't mean to be.
He's a prick to everybody because he's right and everybody else is wrong.
It's just what my angle is at this point.
My angle is that I disagree with everyone, and I'm a prick to everyone.
So anyway, I can keep rambling. But that, yeah, movement.
And he can. Believe me, he can keep rambling. That's what he does.
10 years, and now the book, and now another film, which I'm very excited about.
I'm trying to get to this one part.
Live action, and that's where all my focus is right now. Is the new film related to this new book, or is it totally stuff? It is. It's based on the book, but it's a completely artistic-driven.
Let's talk about that. That's going to be number whatever, blabbity bling bling bling. He has no. I could sort through these later. See, and then I'll actually have 10. I could even read a little video and release this one. But his movie, he took movie. I got to get the dates right, but I think it was approximately in 2012. He did a Patreon or something. 2012. Seriously, he started this. I don't know when the movie was. I think the movie was supposed to be done 2013, 2014, 2015, all along. I mean, I don't even know. But it's been like literally, he took like thousands of dollars to finish this new human rights movie, and he hasn't finished it. His movie took money. I didn't give him money. Won't finish film. And he's coming out with, I guess he's coming out with his books now. But like, is there really any excuse? He knows how to finish a movie. I don't get it. Maybe he knows it would be like just panned so widely with today's newly woke constituencies.
Film. It's not.
I just thought I'd throw in. It could have been. I could use a lot of words there. Constituencies.
It's not a documentary. It's I describe it. It's like a avant-garde mixed genre piece where different scenes happen and it unfolds both in an academic sense, but also in a highly abstract sense. In order to sneak behind people's ego, what I've learned about that book and just giving lectures around the world for 10 years,
why do you have to sneak?
Writing and so on, is that you can only communicate relevant academic information and expect people to absorb it so far. You have to do something different. That's why the arts are so important. That's why Zeitgeist 1, being the artistic piece that it is, still resonates more than anything today in terms of the trilogy.
It's an artistic
even though
piece.
it's almost
it's not political.
Well, I wouldn't say it's least important. There's something to be said for allowing people to reach their own conclusions, to give them that Rorschach, if you will. But if it's carefully tempered, people are much more inclined to drop their ego and to jump on board of rational things if it's presented in a way that doesn't threaten them, or I should say, doesn't feel like it's imposing upon them. So if that makes sense, this film is designed as a series of vignettes.
Get around their ego. So it doesn't feel like they're imposing something on them. Is it all voluntary? Is it voluntarism? Peter? How long before, do you want to get in a pool? How long before he uses the word like voluntarism or something? How long do you think that's going to be?
which has a linear through line against a live action film, but it's also very abstract, and I'll just leave it at that because it's very hard to describe.
Where is it?
So yeah, let's talk about the new book.
5 years in the making. Must be like
so what was the
motherfucking
basic,
Citizen motherfucking Kane.
Yeah, because a publisher asked me, and in this, I wrote a book before that. It was a kind of joint thing called Zeitgeist Movement Defined, which is just about a treatment on the movement. So I had experience doing that, but I'm not a natural writer.
I'm trying to get to this one part.
With writers that can just whip that stuff out. That book was requested. I was like, okay, so I put my film production on a certain publishing level. You know, self-publishing is one thing. If you have a fortunate as that is, but and stare at all this equipment and body off to write amount of time, really reducing the knowledge down. So I have video of it.
Worked hard on the book
for a more vulnerable period when people open up.
Yeah. And so
a lot of these things need to be talked about, and I think will be, as you've pointed out in your literatures, we're waiting for a more vulnerable period.
We're waiting for a more vulnerable period. So is that the plan, to make sure we're more vulnerable because we don't get basic health care and education and try to fix what's the system is now and try to tax rich people through democracy? So we're like, is he trying to like somehow, we're waiting for a more vulnerable period? We don't have to necessarily go through a more vulnerable period, you know, depending. I mean, it's not necessarily, you know, it could start to get better because, you know, progressives could start to get elected and change the system. That could happen, right? No. Anything but any sort of collective act holding placards.
Yeah. And so a lot of the book is kind of making an analysis.
Which I'm not a sign holder, but whatever.
Some critique of the economic system, and also kind of like the, you know, kind of cultural ideology that surrounds the economic system that makes it feel so kind of indomitable or impervious or invulnerable to change. You want to talk about that aspect here?
So you have a big feedback loop in society where we're born into.
Yeah, it seems like we can't change capitalism, but actually Bernie wants to do it. And then
reinforcement.
I wonder if he gets into this, into the whole like
we're moral, while in fact we actually have to screw people over. So
and it's like Bernie's income inequality addresses this. I mean, it does. I mean, why don't you say like, yeah, let's do more taxes on rich people? You know, why are you like, oh, this will never work? Because like trying to do what the majority of Americans actually want democratically, that'll never work because we're at a different stage of capitalism.
Ability, as far as I'm concerned, that's a
phony, baloney, Tony
signpost of what this culture, whether we agree with it or not, whether we think we're doing that, we all participate in this. And it's really unfortunate. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, and not to be negative, but it's
not to be negative. But I'm a dick to everyone on social media. He was a dick to me. You know, he just like said like, yeah, Chomsky has never accomplished anything with his whatever. You know, it's not like we have a socialist who's like in line to get the presidency and have a bunch of people on his side. Why doesn't Peter Joseph like, you know, become a politician and like start to, if he really cares about public health, why doesn't he take part in our revolution?
A single thing that will stop this, it's not the elites or any kind of.
It's not, and now he's saying, now he's like literally, and this is one of the parts I wanted to hear. It's
shenanigans or conspiracy.
It's not elites or a conspiracy or okay, well, I mean, we know what neoliberalism, the basic story. I mean, I assume people. Not everybody knows the basic story of neoliberalism, but basically since Reagan, and even before that, basically the rich. A who's who of the Forbes 500, I've heard it described as, and these people are also the conservative vanguard of the industrial elite, let's say, of the oil people, the arms manufacturers. So that's, I mean, you talk about really what the deep state is. These people are the deep state. The Koch bros are the deep state. The Koch bros all control all houses of, you know, if it's not important and they have a libertarian philosophy, why don't they take a hands-off approach to the government? But they take a very hands-off approach trying to make sure the government doesn't work. And here, Peter Joseph is like just really gaslighting us because he's not even talking about, he's just speaking in some sort of, there's no It's not the elites trying to do all this. It's just the system. No, it's specifically things done by specific people, and he knows their name, and he says literally, let's not approach them. Let's not address the power of the Koch brothers. Let's not, it's nonsense.
The general population, that they're too invested. And the more technology advances, the feedback loop strengthens, because people today have more than they've ever had, even though it's still a system of social oppression. So people don't want to lose their cell phones that make pancakes, in the words of George Carlin.
Adopting George Carlin, who would be diametrically opposed to his freaking shit. He's trying to appeal to leftists who think, yeah, I'm a hipster cooler. But what I'm actually proposing is fascism.
They have so much more material luxury in general that they're afraid to be politically active. They don't want their name to be.
Now he's talking about being politically active. He was just saying how with Bernie that won't work, so we shouldn't be politically active, right? So what is he saying? They're afraid. People are afraid to be politically active.
Turns it on the internet, so their employers will find them and berate them, fire them, or never hire them because they're seen as a radical. So this is the real serious.
He's like he's pretending to be this crazy left-wing radical. He's coming off as, but really his solution is totally diametrically opposed to every other leftist I know of.
I mean, I don't know. The answer to that is some kind of deeper cultural awakening. And I think
the deep awakening. Yeah, I hear this same freaking thing from the same progressive. It has nothing to do with the actual class structure or Bernie being able to vote and everybody change everything. Keep saying the same thing over and over because this is total bullshit. I want somebody to come on and tell me yes, this is obvious. You're right. I didn't realize what we're seeing. I basically, the last guy, I did get in a little conversation with him, and he went through the whole thing, and and then he ended up telling me how I needed to clean my room. He couldn't argue with me, and was like, I guess we agree. And Peter Joseph is kind of wrong here, I guess, But he's like, oh, obviously so forward thinking and everything, right? No, I mean, you have to see what he's actually saying, and once you see this pattern. That's what I'm saying. That's the Cambridge Analytical pattern where they're trying to micromanage, micro-target all these people. That's what I'm trying to do here is I think here's an area of people wonder why I'm doing this. Maybe I'll do a whole video why I'm doing this. That'll be my mission statement because I'm trying to attack the fake phony left that I believe does come, that I see a certain unity, and they try to get Jimmy Dore involved with them. And I know that Tim Black, like I say, they used to be they were the no sellouts. What happened? H.A. Goodman, of course, sold out, which, of course, obviously he was everything to do with, I don't know why, Jordan Chariton, the former defrocked TYT politics reporter of the sex scandal and who got fired for misusing whatever. Anyways, I don't know why he don't talk about it because they basically, H.A. Goodman was specifically shooting, would have these obvious fakos who came on, and it's just they'll probably come on whatever they could find about whoever they feel is some sort of a threat to them. They'll try to H.A. Goodman. He'd said some crap about how H.A. Goodman sucks, so H.A. Goodman got right in his face, and could H.A. Goodman have created that whole wacky scandal? Well, really, these are the far right tricksters. They have all the money, and they're protected because so they'll pay you and they'll give you legal protection. If you work for them, and they'll it's part of a big conspiracy. And it's just the same, what's the real conspiracy? The Forbes 400, the capitalism is real. It's not confusing. He's talking about here, you heard him a few minutes ago. He's talking about how it's some sort of shady. It's not the elites. It's not blah. Yeah, it's the elites. It's the elites. Jesus.
Frankly, not to jump to the end, there's going to have to be a new kind of society if there's enough time.
We have to have a new society first before democracy can even be that's his other talk too. A democratic precondition? Question mark. Do we need something so that we can have democracy before we have democracy? Democracy before democracy? No.
For complete ecological Armageddon. The advancement of technology will allow for some country or some group of people to go off the grid.
There we go. Let's go back a little bit.
And frankly, not to jump to the end, there's going to have to be a new kind of society. If there's enough time before complete ecological Armageddon, the advancement of technology will allow for some country or some group of people to go off the grid.
Okay. The advancement of technology will allow some country or some group of people
and have high efficiency and create a new example. And that
high efficiency and a new example, which this is going to happen. I mean, what he's talking about kind of will happen, but the idea that somehow that it's pointless to go with the progressive agenda in the meantime, as if this was somehow going to stop that from happening, then we should just leave the Coke. I mean, literally, that's what he says. So it's just like, I'm not saying obviously this could very well happen, and like kind of something like it. Basically, technology will advance. That's what's going to happen. It's not like,
It's kind of what I'm figuring is going to happen. Because within the
but it'll have to happen. Now it has to happen. Why? Because democracy and voting will never work. Even though Bernie, out of nowhere, comes up socialist, got 47%. And now, election till today will be like 60%. So, I make the same points over and over maybe, but.
General scope of what's happening, you're not going to see the relevant changes that are required. It's depressing to say that. I don't mean to be.
He doesn't? Oh, no. It's just not, you're not going to see it.
Negative. But if you really look clearly, that's what the picture paints.
That's what the picture paints. We can't do it. Even though 47%, even though Trump was able to get elected, that says something how the malleability, even though, yes, he was very fine and dandy, somehow because he was willing to, obviously willing to work with the oligarchs. So, but here's another video. Let's see, like, what else? Agorism. I just want to make the point that what he was talking about is like sort of going off the map and, stepping outside. What did he say? Going off the grid and technologically creating this. I think that is very similar to what I've heard is agorism, or the counter economy, where they're trying to, of course they say there's no money. Supposedly it would be off the grid. They'd create the example and it would be resources where it'd be available to everyone and there'd be no differentiation between the amount of money this or that person had because of people would just, somehow give up their advantage and move into there. I guess this is maybe, it's very, it's science fiction. Ultimately, it's science fiction and Bernie is reality. Well, I think that's another good length for a video. Let's see if I have another point here. Yeah. And just the ultimate, I'll make this point again too. Oh, yeah. Did I make the point about how like Glenn Greenwald, he says like, go after what you can smallly. I think I did, but I'm like, I remake these points. I think I did. This is what I'm going after, though. It's like this. I'm coming for you. If you're from the fake libertarian left, I'm just gonna follow my heart wherever it may go, because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of you like messing with the Jimmy Dore and in the RT. And I'd like to see if you are like on the take. Like I say, it's a 501c3. It's basically it's similar to the 9/11 for Truth, the architects, which maybe a lot of people, people just like kind of like dumped me. They find out like I don't believe in that the Tower 7 was wired to fall. So people will literally, repeatedly, they'd rather divorce themselves from me on Facebook instead of somehow just because I believe that. And I do sort of like, obviously, like sort of, maybe I'm ridiculing them a little bit, but, I think it is sort of important because I think it helps to show the architects for 9/11 thing and the fact that even Peter Joseph was a 9/11 conspirator. I don't know if he ever went into I think he did say it looked like a controlled. Why does it look like it? I think he did say it maybe looked like it. So he's basically following the same formula as all these other documentaries, in his own way. But like I said, once you've seen all these from the same genre and they're still being made, I even found one that was like being made, and they even suggest doing this. This part, make your own little homemade documentary in this same ilk, and they'll even, I don't know for this for a fact, but I believe they will, they'll set you up, because I've seen like the same exact story, not necessarily the Zeitgeist story, but of course the 9/11 story just goes, there's many people who do and that's what gives it they'll repeat it over and over, so that's why it's called the echo chamber phone. So the echo chamber is real, people who think like they ridicule me for thinking that the Koch brothers actually spend money on propaganda, and that the Mercers and the right wing is spending money on propaganda, when in fact we know the whole mainstream media, is basically propaganda for the right wing, because they are upholding the status quo of, where a small group of people is making all the damn money. We know exactly what's happening. It is the elite. Peter Joseph's totally wrong. He's totally lying to you. And that's, that's enough for now. Go do something. Get outside. Go do something. Bye-bye.